Forget everything you know about World War II pistols. This is the story of a tragic genius. Alright folks, buckle up and get comfortable. We're about to dive into one of the most fascinating, tragic, and brutally underrated weapon stories of the 20th century. This isn't just a tale about a gun. This is a saga of brilliant engineering, shattered national pride, and how one seemingly simple decision made in Parisian offices sparked an entire firearms legend. We'll travel from the chaotic aftermath of the First World War to France's desperate, feverish attempts to prepare for a new war. A war it would ultimately lose. And at the heart of it all is the pistol model of 1935, Type A, or simply the Model 1935A. A weapon designed to save the honor of the French army, but which instead ended up in the hands of its enemy. Intrigued? You should be. And hey, if you're into weapons and these gripping hidden histories, smash that subscribe button and drop a comment right now telling me what other legendary piece of hardware you want me to dissect next. Your feedback fuels these deep dives. Picture this: France, the late 1930s. A nation still haunted by the grinding, bloody trench warfare of the First World War stares east with a growing sense of dread. Nazi Germany is rising, rearming, and the smell of a new great war isn't a metaphor. It's a palpable fear choking Europe. The army, the bastion of the nation, the symbol of France's fading glory as a great power, is supposed to be the shield. But if you peeked into its holsters, you'd find not order, but chaos. It looked less like a modern military and more like a prop room for a historical film. The official sidearm was, on paper, the elegant Model 1892 revolver. A 6-shot wheel gun chambered in 8 by 27 millimeters, reliable as a Swiss clock. But its problem wasn't quality, it was quantity. There were catastrophically few of them. Post-war stocks were depleted, and production couldn't keep up with a rapidly modernizing, on paper, army. So what did the high command do? They panicked and scrambled, buying anything that went bang on the international market. In their arsenals, ancient 11mm Model 1873 revolvers, relics from an era of single-shot rifles and grand cavalry charges, sat next to Spanish Astras and Lamas, American Colts and Savages. It was a logistician's nightmare. Imagine the poor supply sergeant who had to source ammunition. .32 for this officer, .38 for that one, an exotic 11mm round for the third. Spare parts? Repair manuals? This open-air museum of firearms was a critical vulnerability waiting to be exploited. France needed a single, modern, mass-produced service pistol. That search began in the 1920s. But the French took a counterintuitive approach. They didn't start with the barrel or the mechanism. They started with the cartridge. Yes, that little piece of brass, powder, and lead. French engineers became fascinated with the ballistics of an experimental American round, the .30 Peterson. Designed for a secret World War I project, the infamous Peterson device meant to turn a Springfield rifle into a quasi-submachine gun. It was relatively weak but offered a flat trajectory and very low recoil. The French used it as a blueprint and created their own. The 7.65 by 20 mm long, 7.65 by 20 millimeters long. And here lies the first great paradox, and what I see as a stroke of genius that was also a fatal flaw. The entire post-World War I world was moving towards more powerful pistol cartridges. The Germans were perfecting their 9 by 19 mm Parabellum. The Americans held a religious faith in the stopping power of their .45 ACP. Legend said it could drop a charging tribesman with one shot. And the Soviets were pushing the high-velocity 7.62 by 25 mm Tokarev. And France? France deliberately swam against the tide. They prioritized not stopping power, but controllability, safety for a barely trained reservist, low recoil, and weapon compactness. A muzzle energy of around 200 joules, compare that to the Tokarev's 500+, was deemed optimal for an officer's close-quarters tool. The mantra was, the pistol must be light, safe, and always on your person. This was the philosophy of a tool, not a status symbol or a last-ditch trench-fighting weapon. It was a pistol for commanding, not for assaulting fortifications. And within this philosophy lay the seeds of future trouble. The technical requirements issued in 1933 were a masterpiece of military pragmatism. The new pistol had to be Simple to manufacture, cheap, reliable in any condition, from the sands of North Africa to the mud and snow of the Alps. Safe, an accidental discharge shouldn't cost the army a valuable officer. Reparable in the field with bare hands by the light of a lantern. It was this last point that sparked true engineering magic. In the final competition, which ran from 1935 to 1937, two main contenders emerged. One was from the state arsenal at Saint-Étienne, MAS. The other was from a private firm, the Société Alsacienne de Constructions Mécaniques, SACM, which had previously built locomotives and machine tools, not guns. This dark horse won, thanks to the genius of one man, Charles Petter. Charles Petter is a legendary figure. A Swiss native, a former officer in the French Foreign Legion, a recipient of the Legion of Honor. He combined the cold, precise mind of an engineer with a heated, practical understanding of what a soldier needed in a foxhole. He wasn't just designing a mechanism, he was crafting a survival tool. And his creation, adopted as the Modèle 1935A, became a benchmark of engineering elegance. Petter, like most gunsmiths of his day, started with John Moses Browning's short-recoil tilting barrel system. But he didn't just copy it, he purified, simplified, and perfected it. Upon firing, the barrel, locked to the slide, would travel back a short distance before two elegantly designed links would cam its breech end downward, unlocking it from the slide. The mechanism worked with the mathematical precision and reliability of a Swiss watch. But Petter's true genius was in modularity. The entire firing mechanism, the hammer, mainspring, sear, trigger bar, was assembled into a single steel module. This module slid into the pistol's frame like a puzzle piece and was secured by a single pin. What did this mean in practice? Imagine a soldier in a muddy trench. His pistol is caked with filth, sand, and powder residue. With a typical pistol, field stripping meant fiddling with tiny parts and springs, risking loss. With the Model 1935A, push out one pin, pull out the entire fire control group as one block, wipe it down, oil it and slide it back in. Cleaning time was slashed dramatically, and if the mechanism broke, the armorer would receive a new module and could swap it in minutes, without sending the whole pistol to a rear area depot. This was a revolutionary approach for the mid-1930s. Aesthetically, the pistol was beautiful in its austerity. A dull black enamel finish, grip panels made of dark, checkered bakelite. It measured 196 millimeters long and weighed about 830 grams loaded. It pointed naturally, becoming an extension of the hand. A frame-mounted safety that blocked the firing pin, a magazine disconnect, every feature was meticulously thought out. Production began in 1937. The pistol started to trickle, then slowly flow into Army units, promising an end to the firearms babble. But history, as we know, has no patience for what-ifs. World War II erupted. France, despite its preparations, suffered a catastrophic defeat during the phony war and the blitzkrieg of spring and summer 1940. The nation was occupied. And here begins the most bitter, dramatic chapter in the story of the Model 1935A. The SACM factory in Mulhouse found itself in territory annexed by the Third Reich. The Germans, who always appreciated quality engineering and rational design, didn't shut it down. They simply stamped their own acceptance marks, WA 655 and WA 251, on it and renamed the pistol the Pistole 625F. Now, the weapon created to defend France was issued to German units, SS formations, and collaborationist troops. Can you fathom the irony? The French officer's pistol, a symbol of intended national renewal, was now aimed at its creators. Notably, in German reports, the Model 1935A was praised. They noted its unusually high accuracy, that low recoil cartridge was a boon here, its smooth trigger pull, and its superb ergonomics. The single but critical flaw was the weak penetration of the 7.65 millimeters long cartridge. It struggled against heavy winter clothing, basic equipment, and certainly against helmets. But the Germans issued it to rear echelon troops, vehicle crews, and as a secondary weapon where these shortcomings were less crucial. After the war, in 1945, production of the Model 1935A briefly resumed. It remained in service into the early 50s, but its fate was sealed. The world had decisively standardized around the 9x19mm parabellum. The anemic French cartridge faded into obscurity, and with it, its primary vessel. You'd think the story ends there. Another weapon, designed for one war but used in another, quietly forgotten. But no, here comes the most elegant plot twist of all. Charles Petter, seeing his brainchild had no future in France, licensed the design to the Swiss firm SIG, today's SIG Sauer. The famously pedantic and precision-obsessed Swiss engineers took Petter's core design, refined it, improved the manufacturing quality by an order of magnitude, and created the SIG P210. And the P210 isn't just a pistol. It's a legend, the 20th century benchmark for accuracy and quality. They called it the Rolls-Royce of pistols. Its tight grouping was phenomenal, and in its veins flowed the blood of that humble French workhorse, the Model 1935A. Thus, Petter's creation, born from the anguish of pre-war France, gave life to an entire dynasty of elite Swiss firearms. Isn't that the ultimate recognition for an engineer? The Modèle 1935A never became a globally recognized icon like the Colt 1911 or the Luger P08. It never roared in the hands of movie superheroes. But therein lies its charm. It was a perfect tool, the embodiment of French rationality, caught in the grinding wheels of world history. It was the last truly French army pistol, closing the book on a whole era of national firearms philosophy. And simultaneously, it was the first hesitant yet brilliant step toward the post-war modernist weaponry of Europe. It lost the war, but won in the timeless arena of engineering thought. So that's the story. Not just one of metal and mechanics, but of people, ideas, national character, and the unpredictable twists of fate. Now I want to hear from you. What's your take on that French philosophy, designing a service pistol around a low-power cartridge? Was it a stroke of genius or a critical mistake? Debate it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, if you want me to tear apart another legendary weapon with this same level of detail, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel. There's plenty more where this came from, because history isn't just dates in a textbook. It's living, breathing drama. Catch you in the next one.